Welcome into another episode of the Somebody Said Kane Show. I am your host, Breeze, as always, bringing your weekly content for the Miami Hurricanes. If you're tuning in, we appreciate you jumping in. Please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. Please also go find at Somebody Said Canes on YouTube. All of this Miami content that I'm creating on this page eventually will live on the Somebody Said Canes page. Much appreciate you doing that. And once we get that going, all this content, as I said, will move over there. But thank you for jumping in. As you can see, the title is the U through 4 coach and position grades. We're going to go position by position, coach by coach, giving grades through the first 4 games. When I started this show, I said I was going to bring some friends along with me. As you can see, I got another friend on the show. Doc, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Breeze. Thank you for having me on today.
No, thank you for joining. You are somebody who knows the Canes as well as anybody. We're going to get into that real quick. First of all, tell the folks how it is that you became a Miami Hurricanes fan.
Well, it's completely my dad's fault. I was born and raised in Miami, and from an early age, he indoctrinated me into this beautiful sport of football. The story, I don't remember it, but he swears that from the time I was 5, I just was attached at the hip. Whatever he was watching on TV, I wanted to watch, and he was always watching football. He was a big Canes and Dolphins fan, and he said I started asking questions, and he thought, she'll get over it. She'll get bored of it in a little while, so I'll just humor her and answer her questions. And long story short, 40 plus years later, here we are, and I'm still bugging him and asking him questions. And he finally said, I better take this girl to a Hurricanes game, which, we did, and went to the Orange Bowl, got to see a couple of games growing up. And from there, it's just become a lifelong passion. And it's something my dad and I have bonded over. And now my mom comes to games. My husband, who's Gators fan, I got him going to the Canes games. So it just continues. And I like to tell people it's definitely my first love and my true love. And there's nothing better to me than Hurricanes football.
Yeah, I don't know if people always understand that. If you're a Canes fan, it's never casual. It's like you're all in or you're not in at all. There's no halfway Canes fan. You either bleed it or you don't.
Yeah, and I think it's different. I know there's that stigma of, well, no one really went to the U that's a fan. It's a small private school. I know as fans, we're sick of hearing it.
Mm,
I'm 305, like I said, born and raised. And if you grew up in that city, especially in the 80s, in the heyday of the early years, we've lived through all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. And if you are a true Canes fan and you're from that area, whether you went to the school or not, like you said, yeah, will remain a true fan.
100%, 100%. Now you mentioned, you've been going to games since you were a little kid, going back to the Orange Bowl. I will always be jealous of everybody who had a chance to really experience the original Orange Bowl. We won't go through those stories. I know you got a bunch of those, but
Yeah.
real quick, how long is it that you've been a Miami Hurricane season ticket holder?
I've lost track of the actual number, but I could tell you I was in my late years of high school. So I would say probably like late 90s. My parents finally bought season tickets. Growing up financially, we couldn't do the season tickets. So my dad would try to get me to games here or there. And when we finally could, they bought season tickets. And then I went off to college. So I said, you can't get rid of them. So they would invite friends or family to fill in my seat until I finished with school. When I came back from college, I had the amazing pleasure. That was about 2001 when I finished grad school. So dad and I were there. I mean, we pretty much saw every 58 home win straight game. We never left the Orange Bowl during that time period with the loss. And then on the flip side, though, we also were in the Orange Bowl during the probation era. We were there when there were only
Yeesh.
10,000 of us, losing to
Yeah.
East Carolina. So I would say like easily probably since, around that 2000-ish. And then we just transferred everything over to Hard Rock and have been there ever since.
Okay. All right. Last question, just to solidify you as a Canes fan and a person knowing your stuff. If that's not enough for the listeners, real quick, who's your favorite Cane all time?
All time, Lamar Thomas. There
Lamar
was,
Thomas.
yeah, and I
Okay.
know there's so many greats, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I could go on with many favorites, but there was something about him when I watched him play, and I was in high school and I was there live. Just something about his ego, the bravado, the I got to take the helmet off, and to me, he just represented what that era of that Kane mentality was. And
Okay.
I have met a lot of Kane since then, and it wasn't just till a couple years ago I finally got to meet him in person for the first time, and it was a great experience. He gave me his championship rings, pulled them out of his pocket, told me to put them on. We took pictures, so that was a really cool
That's dope.
experience.
No, that's super cool. That's super, super dope. All right. So solidified, right?
Yep.
You've earned your stripes. You've been through the good, the bad. So you know this Canes team. I know you're at every home game. You never miss a play, just like I don't. So when we get into these position grades, you know what you're talking about because you've been watching the Canes for a long time. So when you talk position grades, again, real quick, we're 4 games in. We've seen them play in multiple big games, big spots, multiple ranked opponents, 2 rivalries already. We're sitting at 4-0 again, which is, not to blow your nose at Miami Hurricanes fans. And it doesn't always look pretty, but we're at 4-0, which we haven't always been able to say that. We've been through some lean years. We're at 4-0. We're number 2 in the country on the AP poll. Number 1, according to the Josh Pate Commissioners poll, which dropped last night for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Well, I wish they wouldn't do that, but it's okay.
Hey, listen, the rat poison, right?
Yeah.
Right. But it's good to be there because we've had years where we weren't ranked, and we wish we were a team that was getting this type of notoriety on a national level. But of course, with that, you got to go out and you got to go perform. And when you talk about performance on the field, it starts no other place than at the quarterback position, right? Football is a quarterback sport. It's always going to begin there and end there. It's the most important position in all the sports. Carson Beck comes in from Georgia. Georgia fans talk bad about him. I felt like the media talked bad about him. He had the whole girlfriend debacle situation, whatever. When you look at what Carson's done so far and you're giving him a grade, because really we're talking position groups, but quarterback is just him. Yep. What are you giving Carson a grade through the first 4 games?
I'm going to go with a B+. I kind of debated between B+, but I'm going to give him the plus. He's been efficient. What I've appreciated with him is the way he's managed the game. I've appreciated the way that he's taken his time with his checkdowns. I was very impressed. You could tell he does know his football. He knows reading the defenses. I've watched him in each game make plenty of checks at the line of scrimmage. So I've been happy with that. We had those couple of picks. A couple of them, in my opinion, weren't completely his fault. We had a couple of tip passes. I think the one to Malachi Tony, in my opinion, still wasn't really going to Malachi, but he thought he was 6'10" or something on that play. I'm not sure. But so overall, I think he's been efficient. I like that he's moving the ball. He's protecting the ball. Obviously, with that O-line that we'll talk about, he's got his time, so I give him that. He shouldn't be making excuses back there. He should be able to get the ball where it needs to go. But I think there's more he could do with the explosive plays. I have kind of not sure, is it scheme or is it him? Is it coming off the injury? Some of the longer passes down the field, the 20-plus plays, we saw them early on, kind of got away from those. So I know weather was an issue last week and some other factors in the recent games, but just with that lack of maybe the explosive plays in the passing game, I wouldn't say A right now. I'm kind of at that BB+ mark for him.
We're actually on the same page. I think I'm going with a B+ on Carson. Again, some of the same things you just said. When you look at the film, you see where he's checking things at the line. There was a play that was called out in the USF game where the offensive line actually had the wrong read. He corrected them, got into the right look, and it went for a touchdown. It was the drag route to Moore, the true freshman receiver who came across on that play. So things like that, it shows that he knows the game. His IQ is really, really high. From a culture perspective, it seems like he's been a great fit. I do agree with you, though. The big plays haven't been there. And I think some teams, when you watch the film, USF came out 2 high shell, cover 3. Florida did the same thing. I feel like they had 2 safeties back deep on every play, and he kind of bought into it, which you kind of need to, but you can't go away from looking for the opportunities to make those throws down the field. And I felt like there were a couple of them, and he kind of predetermined maybe that they were going to be in that cover 3 look or that 2 high safety look. And so he didn't even look for the throw. He missed a touchdown to Elijah Lofton. He missed, a couple other guys who ended up streaking open down the field because he had already predetermined to take the underneath throw. So I'm giving Carson a B+, just like you. Think there's more. I like some things that I've seen, but I think there's just more meat on the bone. And as the season goes, hopefully he settles in even more, and then we see a little more of those shot plays.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Let's flip over to the running backs. This has been one of my favorite groups to watch work. Not the most favorite, but one of my favorite groups to watch work, especially when you put the film on. When you look at the running backs, it's mostly been Mark Fletcher and it's been Marty Brown because we lost Lyle in the first game. Jordan Lyle went out in the very first game, the Notre Dame game. So we really haven't been able to see him. So we're really working with running back 2 and 3, which I think a lot of people forget. Like, we don't have the starting running back. But from Mark Fletcher and from Marty Brown, what have you seen and what grade are you giving them?
So I went back and forth on this one. Initially, my gut, I was at an A, and then I was B plus, but I think I've leaned back towards the A for what you said. I was actually surprised game one when Lyle came out and started. I thought Fletcher was coming out and Fletcher was starting. And to be honest with you, I wasn't overly impressed with him in that Notre Dame game before he got injured. And to me, the running game has actually looked better since we've consistently seen Fletch and Marty back there. I've heard Fletcher many times saying behind the scenes this year that he's playing with a new purpose this year. And I think that's evident in the way that he's running. He was running well last year, but there's something in his determination I see this year. I also love Marty. They both can catch the ball if they need to in the passing game. They don't stop. Yes, we'll talk about the O-line pushing them, but their legs never stop. I've got they're averaging about 180 yards right now. We're rushing the ball about 180 yards a game. So I mean, just on those stats alone, in 4 games, and not against easy pushovers. I mean, Notre Dame came in with supposed great defense. UF, even though UF was down, their defense is still a really good defense. So to still be putting up those numbers, I think I'm leaning back more towards my initial gut and giving them an A as a group.
Yeah, I'm going to give the group an A minus. Not too far from what you're saying. Again, when you look at the stats, Mark has ran for 388 so far through 4 games. Marty's run for 206. Pringle's sprinkled in there for 48 yards. But I do think we're missing that explosive part of the game. So if that explosiveness was there, maybe I'd give them the A, maybe even an A plus. So I'm going to land on an A minus. They've been very efficient though. Mark is running for 5.9 yards a clip, and Marty's running for 4.2 yards a clip. So we see them getting the work done. Mark's got 5 touchdowns. Marty's got 4 touchdowns. So they're being effective. It should have been. Yeah. Honestly, it should have been 6. I can't believe on that pass play he caught early in the Florida game where he stepped out of bounds. I'm like, how do you step out there? Like, if he stays in bounds, he walked into the end zone. So he should have 6. But I think they've been really, really good, right? I like you thought Mark was going to be the starter. So when I saw Mark not starting, I was like, okay, well then, Jordan must have really just earned it. And we do know he's got that top end speed that Mark doesn't have. And it looks like Marty may not have it either. And you want that explosive play opportunity, right? You want a guy who can take a 5-yard run and make it a 50-yard run because he's able to turn the corner. So given what they can give, which is the hard runs in between the trenches, showing good vision, the pass protection has been really, really good from both of them. So I like that as well. But again, just missing that explosive play, that big play ability. Mark and Marty don't really have that. So as a group, I'm going to give them an A minus. If you get Lyle back and he can pop off some of those long explosive runs, we're talking about A, and we're talking about maybe getting into that A plus range.
Yeah, agree. We have Thunder and Thunder right now, but we're waiting for the Lightning.
That's actually a great way to put it. God, that is a great way to put that. Yeah, it's Thunder. We just don't have the Lightning at the moment.
Yeah. We had the real Lightning plenty of times this season, but not.
Oh my gosh. Oh my! It's rained at every single game so far. Let's talk about these guys. And when I thought about like what picture do I want to use for the wide receivers, like you gotta go with this one. When you're looking at them as a group, though, and I think CJ has been a little bit of a revelation. I think people weren't really sure what we were going to get out of CJ Daniels. When you look at the receivers as a group, though, do you have a grade? And is it what you thought it was going to be going into the year?
So let me start there. I was nervous going into the season because all we heard in the offseason was how we pretty much lost all of our starting receivers and what was this group going to look like.
Yep.
Grab some guys from the portal. We have some guys that, coming back sophomore season. What are they going to look like? I saw Malachi Tony in that spring game, and I said, okay, we got something here. So I was very excited to see what he was going to look like. And I think he's maybe for some exceeded those expectations. But when you talk to people in the South Florida community, they're like, nope, this is exactly what we've watched him do since he was 13. So it's nothing new for a lot of us down here. I think as a group, though, just looking at the full 4 games, I have them at a B right now. I thought they
Okay.
came out really, really hot. And I like that Carson was getting the ball to multiple receivers. Every game it was, okay, who's stepping up today? This guy's catching, this guy's catching. We saw CJ Daniels have his couple of big games. Malachi Tony's been very consistent. I didn't see that threat from them last week. And again, I know that was a complete scheme with the whole offense when in the passing game as a totality. But I thought they kind of slacked off a little bit last game. I want to grade them higher in one area, though. If I could almost give them a B as a group, but as a group blocking, I want to give them an A+ this year. I
Not
think
mad
those
at that.
guys are blocking lights out. Even little Malachi down the field, but collectively, just overall, if we're looking at the stats and where they're at, I'm gonna put them at a B.
I'm actually gonna give him a B+, and that's relative to what I expected, because the same thing, right? In the offseason, all you heard was we were losing our top 4 pass catchers. How do you replace Xavier Restrepo? How do you replace Jacoby George? How do you replace an Elijah Arroyo who, even though he was a tight end, we played him really like a wide receiver a lot? And it's like, well, how do you replicate those guys with new bodies? CJ Daniels, who, to be honest, at LSU didn't really do anything. So it's like, what are you getting there? Malachi Tony, he's a true freshman. Again, in South Florida, if you get a nickname like Baby Jesus, you got to be somebody. But it's like, is he really ready to be that dude at this level was the question. You just needed to see it, and I hadn't seen it. JoJo, 5-star recruit coming out of high school. You hear in camp, he's banged up. He's missing time. So I'm like, I don't know what we're going to get when these guys actually touch the field. So I'm going to give them a B+, and that's relative to the concerns that I had coming into the year, similar to yours. But what I've seen is a team that a group of guys who, one, block hard. I think that if nothing else about your wide receiver room, the way they block talks about the culture and the type of people that they are and the way they see the game. So they definitely get a lot of credit from me on the blocking. They've shown the ability to make it, impressive catches too, right? Like this catch is crazy. And I think up into the Florida game, CJ had a crazy catch every single game. Yeah. Malachi Tony has been a revelation there in the slot, but there is much more to be desired, right? Again, I haven't seen the explosiveness there. We haven't seen the big play threat. Some of that's on Carson, like we talked about. Some of that is also on the receivers. And then, do we really have a wide receiver one? Sometimes it's like, they say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. Receivers are a little bit different. But I'm a little concerned, like, do we have a guy? Because there may come a time in the season where you need a guy, and I just don't know if we have a guy to go be that guy, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. Like I'm sure you would agree. Last year, Restrepo was that guy. You need that 3rd down. Right. You need that 4th down. You know that he's getting the ball. And this year, it has been a little bit of receiver by committee, and which on one hand is not a bad thing. I like that he's, all of these guys are getting involved. But to your point, yeah, I haven't seen anyone really clear cut, because the first week I was more Malachi Tony to me, then CJ Daniels was in the mix, then it was more the freshman coming. So each game, yeah, somebody has stepped up in a different role. But I will say just quickly, I appreciate something else that's been a big difference these past couple of years. These guys are catching the balls they're supposed to catch. And as Canes fans, don't take that for granted, because there were some years not too long ago where
D. Wiggins, Mark Pope, those years
catches, and you're thinking, this is our starting core. What's happening here? So I also appreciate, I'll put that like that little plus with the blocking. We're catching the ball. We're doing the basics. And I know that sounds, that's what they should do, but that factored into my grade of a B as well.
Okay. No, I'm fine with that. Totally fine with that. In a similar vein, let's talk tight ends, because we said last year, Elijah Arroyo, who I thought was an underrated blocker, really was used as a pass catcher more than anything. So when you kind of talk about the pass catching room, you got to also talk about the tight ends. I know that you said before we came on that you were really excited about Lofton coming into the season. You think he's kind of been living up to it? Are you waiting to see if he turns that corner? Where are you at with Lofton? And what are your thoughts on Ballman? Because honestly, the fan base has been eating Ballman up, and I'm right there with him. I'm kind of eating him up too. Pause. I don't think he's been a plus to the team so far.
Yeah, I've been quite upset for several years with the lack of the use of the tight end. Last year, it definitely improved with
Right.
Roy, but like you said, he was almost more like a receiver. I had high hopes even last year with Lofton, but I think it was hard for him to get on the field last year as a true freshman. He came in a couple of plays, he started blocking. This year, I see him on the field all the time, and he's
Yeah.
doing very well blocking, but we're still not getting him the ball. So that's a conversation then. Is it the scheme, or is that Dawson's plan? Is there something that Lofton's not doing? Now, last week against UF, I believe it was one of our leading receivers. He was finally getting the ball. He's usually open when he comes off of his blocks.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why we're not utilizing him more. I remember when he came in as a true freshman, he was being compared to like, Debo Samuel. They said this guy's going to be running the ball. He's going to be catching. He's blocked. Like he can play every position basically on offense. And I don't know that we're really utilizing him to that full extent. I hope they do because I think he is really talented. He's one of my favorite players on the team. And I remember when I met him at the spring game, I mentioned that to him and his face lit up. Like, I think he was like, wait, what? Someone knows who I am on this team? Like someone actually likes me. So I would love nothing more. I am a huge fan. To me, the most important position on the offense is always tight end. And teams that traditionally play well and win championships outside of defense utilize their tight ends. And you go back historically, those teams that had those great, well-known tight ends, we were winning games. So I hope they
Okay.
do utilize him more. And yeah, other than that, we have a lot of youth right now at tight end. And yeah, your boy that you just mentioned,
Mhm.
missing wide open, I mean, pass, not even paying attention, thrown to him. So yeah, I think not so much Lofton, but I like to see all the other tight ends step up a little bit more as we continue on in the season.
Okay. Yeah. Quick grade for me on the tight ends. I'm giving them a C. I just haven't been impressed. It's just not there, and we need more from them. We used to be tight end U,
Mhm.
right? We take a lot of pride in our tight end play, and it just hasn't been there. But making up for them have been some of my favorite guys.
Yep.
I'm a big trench guy. Like you, I'm old fashioned when it comes to football. You win football up front. And Mario has built this team inside out, which is one of the things I hope that he would do when he came in and he took over the program. Offensive line grade. Me personally, I'm giving them an A. And I kind of hate to do that. It doesn't really matter. They don't listen to this show. They don't know who we are. So I'll go ahead and give them their flowers. This group has been incredible, in my opinion. Not only at the point of attack, creating openings for the running backs, giving Carson time to work, the extra stuff, the pushing the pile, the communication, working together. You see teams, they're trying to slant on us, they're trying to stun against us, and they're passing things off. We've seen development from several 3 stars, and Nez Cooper was a 3-star recruit. You've got Markel Bell on the left side, who was a no-star JUCO recruit we brought in. These guys are playing all conference, all title. Where I think we have to be leading in the Joe Moore award race right now. If we're not, then I'm missing something, and I don't know what it is I'm missing. When you look at the offensive line, what are you seeing, and what are you grading these dudes?
So I immediately said A. Now I
Okay.
would give them an A plus, but I'm
Okay.
not, because we need to clean up these penalties. I don't know what was going on these last couple of days.
That's a
So
good call.
yes, my boy Brockermeyer, I don't know what he's doing with that ball, but if we clean that up, A plus. Like when I think of our O line, I think bully ball. To your point,
Yeah.
nobody is stopping this O line. In my opinion, I have them top 2 in the country. So biasly, maybe even number 1 in the country, in my opinion. And that's continuing from last season as well. Like there really hasn't been much of a drop off. In fact, I think they actually look better this year than they did last year. And I love Inez Cooper. He, not just the way he plays, I love his attitude. I told him at the spring game, please keep having fun out there. I love watching him where he will run you over and then just like he has that old school mentality to me of that Kane, like I'm just going to dance out here right in front of you and I'm going to have a good time, but I'm going to put the work in and I'm going to push you out of the way. I'm going to get my running back into the end zone and then I'm going to have fun doing it. So I've really, really enjoyed watching Inez. And even when they keep replacing our center, we're in like the portal center here. Every year it's a new
Yeah.
guy. But they're just Coach Mirabal. I mean, you can't say enough about what he does, making sure that all of his guys are prepared for every position. And I will take this O-line any day. Like you said, when we're continuing to wear down teams, It's not always pretty. It's vanilla sometimes. And I know the fans
Yep.
get angry at the, why are we still running? Why are we still running? But like you said, those trenches, and we'll talk about it on the other side in a minute, that you dominate, and Mario knows it. He was there. He won a championship on that O-line. You're going to win if you're going to be able to maintain those lines.
Yeah, I said it on the Somebody Said pod on Monday night. For those tuning in, every Monday night at 9 p.m. the Somebody Said pod, we're talking everything college football, everything NFL. Quick shameless plug. You're on the page. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. But I said it on that show. This game against Florida, we saw Miami wear a team down up front. And before the last couple of years, it's been well over 2 decades before we could wear teams down up front. And we actually have that ability now. And since we're already talking about trenches, we're already having that conversation. They've been the stars of the season so far. Everybody's talking about them every week. People are talking about putting 4 in Heisman conversations. I had it as my banner today.
Yeah.
Bain for Heisman. 3 and 4 have just been unreal. Like, I mean, unreal. You see just down to down run defense, setting edges, getting after quarterbacks. There's nothing more, me personally, I could ask for. I'm giving the defensive line an A+. Now, I do think 3 and 4 are bringing them up a little bit. The D tackles have been solid. My biggest concern at the D tackle position is the depth. I like what I've seen from David Blay. I really love what I've seen from a development standpoint from Ahmad Moten. They don't flash nearly as much, but honestly, it's probably not their fault, because how do you beat 3 and 4 to a quarterback? Like, I don't know how you as a D tackle ever beat them for a sack. What are you seeing on the D line, and what's your grade?
So I have A+, just number 3 and number 4. But as a group, I drop it to an A. But I do agree with you. It's definitely an A, but could be without those two. We're probably looking at like a B+, a solid B+. But I'm going to give them the A because, like you said, Bain, Mesidor are definitely bringing those two up. I was so happy to see Bain back to what we thought we were going to see last year before the injury. Yeah. And I think that only shows, number one, how much that injury really impacted him that we might not have realized. And also him getting into better shape. I think he laid off all those Sonic burgers he was eating his freshman year after each game, and it shows. And when I saw him at the spring game, I remember I said, like, how you feeling? Are you ready? And there was just something in his eyes when I was talking to him that you could tell, like, he knew this was the year I got to come back and I have to prove something. And he has been playing. I always tell when we're in the stands, I'm like, that is a man. I'm like, he is playing like, mama, that's a bad man down there. Like, he's not even playing like, in my opinion, a young 20-year-old, or 19, 20-year-old. Like, he is on a mission this year. I've been impressed too. Lightfoot, he's really impressed me this year with his play. So I think, like you said, they're really kind of bringing, and the whole way that the defense is performing, which I'll talk more about when we talk about coach, but I think they've all bought into this mentality that they're following right now, and it shows. That one interception he had just proves that point where, I mean, he starts at the line and then he's chasing down he's down where the receiver's at, and then he's still making the interception. So he's not quitting. Hey, I don't get to that quarterback, I'm still swarming. I'm looking for whoever's got the ball at that point, and he's still one of the first guys there making these tackles, even when they're running past him. So I agree with you. Definitely an A for me.
And the reason I am going to stick with an A+, just real quick, and I think this stat more than anything talks about how well the D tackles have been doing, because obviously 3 and 4 are the stars of the show, and they should be getting all the credit they're getting. But the rushing stats, we're top fit. We're 15th in the nation in opponents' yards per rush. We're 13th in opponent rushes per game, and we're 12th in opponent rush yards per game. 3 and 4 are a big part of that too, but you can't have those type of numbers if you're soft in the middle. So I think Blay and Ahmad are doing great, it's just hard to really get any shine because 3 and 4 is just doing so many insane things every single down.
Yeah, you're right. When I looked at the stats, 76 yards rushing is what they're giving up average per game. Crazy. And they have yet to give up 100 yards or more to any team. And that includes Notre Dame and Florida.
Yeah, who both have incredible running backs. I came into the season that Notre Dame had a top 2 rushing pair in Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. And I think Jaden Barr at Florida is really, really good. Like, that kid is a stud. We held them both to like season lows so far. So it kind of just speaks to how good the interior of the defensive line, I think, has been, even though they don't make as many flash plays. Speaking of not making as many flash plays, we'll jump to the linebackers real quick. And we don't have to spend a lot of time because,
Yeah.
when your defensive line is balling the way it is, it makes life way easier on your linebackers. When you got Mesidor and Bain meeting at the quarterback, at the blink of an eye every snap, you get a lot less work as a linebacker. But obviously, they do still have responsibilities. Have you seen anything from the linebackers that you like so far? And if you're giving them a grade as a group, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm giving them a solid B. They
Okay, that's
were
fair.
one of my two concerns coming into the season. The last couple of years, I felt like depth wise, the linebacking core has been our weaker spots on the defense. I have been pleased. I think Popo Aguirre has really stepped up. He played a lot last year, but like he's taken it to another level this year,
I like
and
Popo.
I'm happy to see that. And Chase Smith, like, was coming off his injury too. A lot of the coaches said they had faith in him, and he's starting to come into his own as well this year. So to your point, yes, I think their job's been a little bit easier this year,
Yeah.
but they're still doing what they need to. And then we have the addition of transfer Tory from Rutgers, and I think so. Just having that veteran in there too, that leadership, and he's used to Heatherman's defense as well. So I think he's kind of stepped up in a big way as well for the linebacking core.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from the linebackers, and I know a lot of people were concerned about Popo because he's a little on the leaner side, in terms of playing in the middle of a defense. But Motori has made it a little easier on him because he comes in as a reserve role. I actually saw him in this game against Florida. That drive where they marched up the field, Wesley Bassett really was struggling. I'm a big Wesley Bassett
Yeah.
guy. He really, really struggled on that drive when you put on the all 22 film. Popo came in on the next drive, and I thought he was a big piece in kind of settling things down. The linebackers are making a lot of calls, a lot of checks at the line, readjusting defensive linemen, making sure they're in the right spots. And then Popo was doing a lot of that. So I actually was very, very pleased to see Popo in on that next possession, and the defense got back to what they needed to be doing, and it looked much better. So I like what they've been doing, but again, I don't think it's been anything special. I'll give them a B. I think a B is fine. And hopefully we don't have to ask them to do much more because everybody else continues to ball out, right? So we'll continue on the defense. We just got, really we'll do the defensive backs in one swoop together, because they really all kind of rotate and they do a lot of different things. This was the biggest position group that had the question marks coming into the season. I know a lot of people were concerned about this room. We bring in a bunch of transfers. Mario just threw bodies at it. It's like, you know what? We got an issue there. I'm just bringing as many DBs as I can. Do you think they've gelled well? Do you think they've performed well enough to the standard? And if you're giving them a grade, what's that grade?
I think they have. They were definitely my biggest concern. I think it's no surprise they're the reason that a whole new coaching staff on the defense now exists after last season. Last season, we're giving up 400 yards in passing a game.
Nasty business.
Points. Now, if I'm looking at my stats, we're at an average of 168 yards passing. That's a huge improvement to me. So I got them at about a B+ right now. I think they are gelling. I think they're communicating well. I really have been enjoying Jacoby Thomas's play. Even though his first year as a Cane, there's something about him. Like, he just gets it. Yep.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. So I think the transfers have fit well with still our guys that were there last year. Plus, 2 of our 3 interceptions by our true freshmen. So, the young guys are showing that they have talent as well. So I kind of like this mix right now that we have. If we can keep developing, our freshman and sophomore moving forward, and then maybe slowly just fill in a little bit less and less from the portal. But yeah, I think these guys' first 4 weeks are gelling. There was my only concern, if I'm going to get picky with them, there's a couple times when they get a little distracted, that quarterback starts scrambling, and we lose contain, we lose our assignment. If we can clean that up, other than that, that's just one out of last year. It would be 1,000 things I could have picked on. Just that one. If we can clean up that B+ or B+ is an A to me, the rest of the season, if we can just make that one correction.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a B on that as well. And that's a big problem because a lot of quarterbacks we're going to see throughout the season have that run threat ability. And we saw it in the Notre Dame game. We saw it in the Cookman game, and we saw it in the USF game where scramble drill happens. DBs are now eyes are on the quarterback, whether they need to be or not, and then you let a guy run up the field for a big pass play. Those things we can't have. But outside of that, on true passing downs, I am not seeing guys regularly getting beat. I'm not seeing guys completely out of position and out of coverage. Again, we had the one play against Notre Dame, which really was Motore, who turned a tight end loose, who he was the only one not playing man. But other than that, these DBs I think have been really, really good. Jacoby Thomas, I'm so glad you called him out specifically because I don't know if he's getting enough credit from the fan base. He has been lights out, in my opinion. He has been a big hitter. He sets the tone as a blitzer. I didn't know he had that ability as a blitzer. We really saw him in the Florida game, flying downhill, coming off the edge. He had a sack. This is where he pays his tributes to the great Ray Lewis.
Great job too, buddy.
Yeah, I actually thought he did a pretty good job at it as well. He clearly had that plan. Like he had that in his pocket the whole time. But also he made a lot of really good plays in the hole. There was a couple of plays where it's a run play, 3rd and short, 2nd and short, and he's flying down and he's making a play, in the hole at the line of scrimmage. I've been very, very pleased with Jacoby Thomas. I thought this was one of the more underrated transfer portal additions we made. He was slated to be a starter at Tennessee, and I think a lot of people forgot that. And I think we're actually seeing what he brings to the field, and I've been very, very happy with his play, and I think the DBs have been doing good. I'll give him a B+ because the one thing that they got to fix, like you said, is on the scramble drill, can't get lost in coverage, can't give up those big plays.
Yeah. And I would add transfer Keontae Scott too from Auburn. I think he's been fantastic too, and he's another hard hitter. And I think they're all gelling really well.
Okay, let's wrap up. Let's talk about the coordinators, and obviously we'll finish off with the head man, Shannon Dawson. He's starting to have his name tossed around in potential coaching searches. There are a couple of jobs that are already open. There's potential for more jobs to be open. I think Shannon has done an incredible job since he came here. One of my favorite things, and I'll share one of my favorite things about Shannon, and I'll turn it over to you. One of the things that I've liked about him is he has leaned into what each team is good at. You have not seen the same offense year after year. When that first year, you saw a certain type of offense. When TVD got hurt, you saw a completely different type of offense. You bring in Cam, and it's run and gun, West Coast style, throw the ball 40 times. And now you see Carson, and you see a completely different, more balanced offense. So his ability to adapt to his personnel, not being one of those coaches where I'm going to force guys to be able to do what I want them to do. I'm going to do what they're good at and lean into that has been one of the best things, in my opinion, about Shannon. And as an offensive coordinator, I know he gets a lot of flack because it's boring and we run the ball up the middle a lot. Fans are tired of seeing inside zone. They're tired of seeing us run duo. I'm fine with the boring. Like the boring is fine with me if it means we're winning. If it means we are trusting our offensive line and we're trusting a defense that's been great, I'm fine with the boring. And I think he's been very timely when dialing up the shots. And we talked about this with Carson, not taking those shots all the time. I'm going to give Dawson an A-. You've got all type of new faces at wide receiver. You've got really a 3rd string running back who's now got to be a big part of your offense. You brought in another transfer quarterback who you did not get an opportunity to really play with, or have him play for you in the summer or the spring. And yet this offense has been pretty good. So considering the circumstances, I'm going to give Dawson an A-. And I know some people probably won't like that and they're going to disagree. That's where I'm at with Dawson. Where are you at with him, and how do you feel about what he's done?
So I slightly disagree as far as
fine.
I also will take boring and winning any day of the week. And I think that his boring, but translates to, we talked about earlier, that run game wears teams down. My only concern, and we've seen this in all 4 games, come 3rd quarter, end of 2nd quarter, after half, I'm not sure what's happening. This offense falls asleep. We're not seeing some of those explosive plays. I don't remember the exact stat was, but something like we're like 120 something out of 130 something, FBS teams right now in plays 20 yards or more. So I think I have him at a B right now just because of
Okay.
that. I agree with you though. I like what he does with his new guys every time, each new season. I like that he does throw in some wrinkles and some creativity. We've seen some new line this year with our run game.
Mhm.
With the last two games as well. So I agree. If when it's not broke, don't fix it. And he talks about that in his press conference all the time. Yeah, it's
Yeah, he
boring,
does.
it's vanilla, but we're winning. And I also know that that also reflects the head coach because Mario loves running the ball as well. So I think just that adjustment. I knew coming into the season we weren't going to have those explosive plays offensively we had last year. We weren't going to be overall statistically the number one scoring offense, in the country. I knew that
Right.
was going to shift. It was going to be more balanced, maybe even a little more runs than passes. But just sticking with the beat, I would like not to have that heart attack in the third quarter of, okay, are we about, like, the PTSD comes back as a Hurricanes fan? Are we about to give this game away? Or is our defense going to keep us in it long enough till our offense gets back on track? So just not
Okay.
sure what's happening with some of those lulls. And doesn't mean it has to be a pass or run, but just we're kind of falling asleep a little bit on offense, I feel like, each game, and it's almost at the same point in the game. So I'd like to see a little bit of a change there and then see if we can get his grade up to an A before the end of the season.
I'm not mad at that, right? If he came out in those third quarters, which in the Notre Dame game, we came out in our first drive and we looked great, but there has been lulls. There's been sleepy moments in the game where offense just isn't producing. I really can't refute that. So maybe that's opportunity to, dial up something completely off script. He talked about in a recent interview about having those off script trick plays or more fun plays. Maybe when the team is going through one of those lows is when you break one of those out just to kind of wake the guys up.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
I
not
would.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the crazy man.
Love him. Love him.
His his pictures, I've yet to see a picture of him where he does not look like a little off. Like this dude he's a little off, right? Like I'm not making that up, am I?
No, no. But how crazy it is that he actually was a quarterback.
I know, right? I know, right? That's
Yeah.
that's is actually kind of crazy. So where you at with Corey Heatherman? It's only been 4 games. He came in the off season. We know what he's done in Minnesota, but right, it's always one of those things where what you did over there really doesn't matter, right? We got to see what you do here. The bar was low coming from what we finished the season with Guidry, so it's not a whole lot he needs to do to raise the level. But what have been your thoughts so far with what you've seen from Heatherman from a scheme and just how the guys have responded to him?
So the bar might have been low, but in my opinion, he came in with the most to prove because we know that defense is what cost us going to the playoffs last year.
Yep.
So when I think of him, I think of his mantra that this team has taken on, and that's ESV. Those guys are playing with enthusiasm. They are swarming to the ball and they are playing violent. And if you listen to them after any game, they will tell you, they will repeat, all the guys on defense will repeat that. And I have not seen that maybe since like 2017 ish, where it doesn't matter. Nobody takes a play off. If it's a running, if it's defense, if it's a pass, the defense, everyone on that team is at that ball in a matter of seconds. And they're playing with that violence, but in a controlled way, which I appreciate. We're not
Yeah.
seeing any like silly penalties. And more importantly, they are communicating. And I know he said when he came in, I want to just simplify it for these guys. We're going to keep it simple, but we're going to play with this intensity. We're going to play with this enthusiasm. And we've seen that. I have been so impressed. There have been so many times I've watched live at a game this year, or when I always watch the replays on Sunday mornings because I like to see what I missed. And you watch that communication. There was one play I think you brought up earlier. Torrey was out of position and his guys are moving him in, or he's moving the defensive lineman. They are constantly communicating with each other, and that shows. I mean, it's been night or day. I have him at 100% without a doubt. I'm giving him an A right now for
Okay.
what this defense is doing. I mean, when you're outscoring 100, what do I have my stats? 144 to 46. We've given up 46 points on defense. So
Yeah.
it has to be an A at this point. And I hope it continues. I didn't expect it to gel and look this good this early, to be honest with you. And even when seeing that schedule, new defense, and we have Notre Dame on the schedule. We have Florida. We didn't know what that was going to look like. I have been more than impressed with the job that he has done with his group.
I'm with you on the A, absolutely. And for all the things that you just said, could not agree more. The one thing I'll add to that I really like I've seen from him is schematically, he is making it difficult for quarterbacks to know what the defense is going to do post snap versus pre snap. Talked about Jacoby Thomas getting a sack. He's walked up to the line. We saw him earlier in that game walked up to the line and he didn't blitz. Right. There are times where you've got one person with their hand in the dirt on the defensive line, and you've got 5 other guys at the line of scrimmage, and you don't really know who's coming. And we've had multiple times where we've gotten sacks because a guy rushed from a place where the quarterback on the offensive line did not check to it, didn't see it. I think schematically, though he says it's simple, it don't look simple. When you put the tape on and you're seeing the different looks he's giving some of these quarterbacks and some of these offenses, it's really hard for a college quarterback to regularly be able to beat those kinds of things. And when you've got guys who can win their one-on-ones, talked about the defensive line, you can't block Ruben by himself one-on-one. You can't block Mesidor one-on-one. You really aren't beating the corners one-on-one. It opens up the opportunity for the coordinator to really get a little more creative. And when you got that effort and that energy that you talked about, where guys are swarming to the ball, you're going to get good play. Like there's no way for anything else to happen. So I've been very, very pleasantly surprised. Again, he came from Minnesota, and I was one of those people like, this ain't Minnesota, right? This ain't, whatever they got going on, that slow ball. Most of those teams are playing up there. Iowa throws the ball 10 times a game. Like, this ain't that. This is, for better or worse, this is the ACC. But we see the ACC puts out quarterbacks. The ACC puts out skill level talent. So you got to be able to go out there and get guys to perform. And I think Heatherman's had done a really good job of doing that. That leaves us just one person. It leaves us with the man in charge, the guy who will always get all the credit and all the blame, for better or for worse, our guy, Mario Cristobal. Again, it's been a trajectory, I'll say. It's been a developing story when it comes to Mario and his time here at Miami. Just this season alone, what would you grade Mario on what he's been able to do just through the first 4 games?
So I'm giving him a B+. Now, the plus is for him dismantling and bringing in an entire new defensive staff.
Okay.
I feel like in the past, we've had some coaches that were fired ultimately because they didn't want to fire their friend or their son in a coordinating position. And it
Al Golden. You can say the names.
Yep. Okay. Yes. D'Onofrio. I'm not gonna ever let that one down. Okay. And even Mark Richt. I love Mark Richt. He didn't want to get rid of his son when he was coaching the offense and the quarterbacks. So I give that plus to Mario for making that decision, to pretty much, with the exception of our Hall of Famer, to get rid of everybody on that staff and start from scratch. Not only once, but he's done that 3 times now. And so he's like, I'm going to get this right. So I give him that plus for taking that step. On a positive, so far, I'm going to knock on wood, knock on something. Mario hasn't, like we like to say, Mario'd yet. I think time management's been pretty good this season. He finally took a knee in the Florida game. Finally, I guess that counts for something. But overall, I mean, he's winning the big games, but then we're winning the games we're supposed to. I mean, I really can't criticize Mario really too much right now. My B is more so just, again, if he has something with Dawson, with just the offense in general, if we can spice it up a little bit here or there. I'm holding back a little bit on that. But overall, I really can't complain about Mario this year. And and you can see the culture too. Like, his vision of that culture from when he started is definitely shining the most to me this year thus far.
I'm going to give Mario an A for now. And I think the for now part can't be left out of it because of the things that you said. And I say this all the time. Mario doesn't have a big game problem. He doesn't have a primetime game problem. Mario has the sleepy, late season, dreary 12 o'clock kickoff game problem. When he's at Oregon, you lose to Stanford. He didn't lose to Ohio State on the road in Columbus. At Miami, you didn't lose to Texas A&M at home. You didn't lose to Florida on the road. You didn't lose to Notre Dame at home. You lost to Georgia Tech twice, right? You lost to Syracuse. Those are the games that he really runs into the issue. So I'm going to give him an A because so far through all the things that have been presented to him, I think he's done an incredible job. Again, we're 4-0. We've played what was 3 teams that were two teams preseason ranked, 2 teams were ranked when we played them, one being an in-state rival. And then, of course, you have your FCS game against Cookman, which, do with that what you want. But from a culture standpoint, the coaches seem to be working well together. The team seems to be responding to what he has wanted. You talk about an Inez Cooper. I think Mario has developed as a coach too. One of the things that's shocking to me is, like, after games, Cooper's on Instagram Live, flipping people the bird and dancing and saying crazy stuff. Ruben Bain is making Instagram posts after games. I think Mario 5-6 years ago wouldn't have let his guys do that stuff. He would not have let them really show their personality and their character, but it seems that he has a trust in this team to handle their business, where he's like, you know what, Ruben, if you want to post a picture where you're saying a bunch of stuff about a team before the game and you're telling teams y'all next, I'm going to let you do it because you handle your business, right? If you handle your business Sunday to Friday, I'm going to let you do what you want to do on Saturday, as long as you do the things that you're supposed to do. And I think that's part of Mario's development, where it's like, you don't need to have your thumb on every bit of the team. You don't need to babysit guys. If you've developed them the way you want and you've instilled your culture, trust them, and let the guys go handle their business. So I think Mario's getting an A from me. That's a 4 now A.
Yep. And mine's the opposite. It could be an A. Okay. It's a B plus for now, but it could be an A by the end of the season.
Okay, let's wrap up on this. We said we were going to 30. We're now 51 minutes in. And that just happens when you talk Canes ball. Let's wrap up on this, Doc. And again, I can't appreciate you more for coming in and doing this with me. Everybody who's tuning in, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe, please hit the bell notifications. Somebody Said Canes content is going to be coming out every week, every Monday night at 9 p.m. We do the Somebody Said pod. We talk everything college football, sprinkling some NFL on the back end usually. Doc, let's end it on this. What is the biggest thing you're looking for the back 8 games of this season? Or what is the biggest thing that maybe you're concerned about, the biggest thing you're excited about? Like, what's one thing that's on your mind when you look forward to these next 8 games?
Well, one thing I want to see improvement on, that if we were going to grade it and it was going to be my C, my lowest grade,
I forgot it.
Is punt return. Now, not kicking as a whole, because our boys is 4. I think he's 4 for 4 on field goals right now, and has hit all his extra points. So going from he was like 4 and 12 at FAU, and now I didn't know what to expect with Borregales gone. So that's been going well. Our punter's doing what he always does. He's averaging 40 plus yards a punt. The punt return. Last year I thought it was an issue. This year we got Malachi back there, and at first I'm like, okay, we've seen what he can do on the field as a receiver. Maybe this is a good adjustment. But there's something, I don't know if it's the coaching or what the disconnect is. He's back there, and I know you see this every game. He's watching the ball bounce 20 yards past. Like, no one wants to run up and catch these punts anymore. And when I think of our DBs from the past, I'm not even going to mention Hester because he's in the league with someone, but whoever we had back there in the past, it was a receiver, a DB. There was this fire. They're like, I'm gunning this ball, and I'm taking this to the house, or I'm full speed ahead. And I haven't seen that with Ray last year. I haven't seen it with Malachi. So I'm not sure what's going on. That would be my biggest criticism, because I think we're losing valuable yards for our offense every time we're going out there to catch a punt. When the couple of times Malachi did run up, he had some success. We got some yards. So I know it's not an ability issue. So I'm not really sure what's happening there. So that would be my only criticism. I definitely still want to see us do something the rest of the season with that. And like we talked about earlier, I think if we can get those explosive plays in, I'm excited. I think we get past Florida State, and that's a whole other beast. I mean, there's no reason we do not go undefeated. And that scares me to say, because we know how seasons end around here.
Yeah.
But I think it is a real possibility. We had all A's and B's across the board today. So we're doing something right. If we continue or even make improvements from a B to an A in some of those positions, I'm very excited for what the rest of the season looks like.
Okay. No, I can't disagree very much with those things. I'll just add, one of my main things that I'm really, really looking to see is, can Mario keep them dialed in every week? It's a long season. We have 7 straight games without a bye week to end the season. You end the season at Virginia Tech, which they look stinky. They fired their coach. Sure. But is it going to be cold?
Mhm.
Miami, we usually don't play well in the cold. Then you go to Pitt, right? Pitt's always annoying. Like, they're never nearly as talented as we are, but they're always annoying for whatever reason. It's going to be cold. That game is in November. Can you have this team locked in to really run through the tape? You know, Mesidor did an interview before the season started, I believe it was. And I said, like, it was something like enough, or they're tired of people saying they can't finish, or tired of people saying they can't do this. You know, enough is enough. Like, well, let it be enough that you fall short at the end of the year. Like, go show that you can finish the season strong the same way you started. Go play in the ACC championship game where you belong from a talent standpoint. And let's go see if we can go make a playoff run, because that's the next step, right? I feel like this team is taking a step every year. The next step is playing in the ACC championship game and really, really being a playoff contender. So that's what I'm looking to see.
I agree completely.
Doc, again, I appreciate your time. You had a long week, just like a lot of us did. But, you know, coming in, talking Canes, you and I talked about doing something like this for a while.
I know.
We'll absolutely have you back. Always nice to see you down at the stadium. You're there every single game. You do not miss one for rain, shine, sleet, snow.
Weddings, baby showers. Don't call me. I'll be at the UM game.
No, like, seriously, don't bother me. I'm at the Rock. I'm watching the Canes play. Really appreciate it again. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, this is Somebody Said Canes. Go follow at Somebody Said Canes on YouTube. All this content, this Miami content, is going to move over there. That's where you're going to be able to find all this stuff. But until then, we appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, go Canes.
Go Canes.